when did you start interacting with the Portuguese embassy?
I can't remember the first contact, but maybe it was on day 2 or day 3. So what I did, I just registered myself with the embassy, which is something that people do, okay, when they travel outside of Europe, not only to war zones. Let's say people go to Cambodia and they register on the embassy. I don't, because I'm kind of a crazy individual, but I decided, okay, this is going beyond normality, so maybe it's better if I do it. So I did it.
Of course.
I got no response, so I decided to ring the embassy, because I think at some point I saw Tel Aviv embassy post on Facebook suggesting people to sending them a message or letting them know that they were in Israel. So I did. They were very helpful. They were always responsive. They never let us down. They never walk away or anything like that. As a matter of fact, while the missiles were coming towards Israel, we would be also advised to stay indoors or remain near a shelter. So they were, let's say, making sure everyone was aware of what's happening. And that's what I did. So I stayed in touch with them. I was also in touch with I also want to say, I was also in touch with the Irish embassy, who was quite keen in making sure that people's well-being when it comes to psychology, mood, it wasn't too bad given the situation. So they would ring me maybe every second day. Actually, as a matter of fact, when I was already in Cyprus, they rang me because I didn't have the chance to let them know that I made it to Cyprus, but so they cared. So hats off for the Irish embassy too. And the Portuguese, so we remained in touch, and I know that last time that the whole thing between Israel and Iran went beyond the regular, let's call it like that. They also provided people with an evacuation mission. So I was confident they would do it again, and they did it, and they did it very well.
Right. And how long did it take them to put the evacuation plan together? And how did you feel about it?
Yeah. So I think it took maybe like 24 hours or something like that. So I was told that I should have my bag ready and ideally sleep in Tel Aviv. And that was, if I remember well, that was Sunday, no? So that was the day before I went to Tel Aviv for the evacuation. That was it's the day before. I can't remember, Sunday, Monday, I can't remember. So they told me, be ready because there's something on the cards, and we want to make sure that that we're all packed and you can get on that evacuation journey. So
and how did you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, how did you feel when you were about to leave Israel? Did you do so with a heavy heart, or could you not wait to get home?
Yeah, I know there was a clear, profound division, within my soul between staying or leaving. It wasn't easy. It's not even easy to talk about it now, because I felt that if I would stay, there was something I could do. I don't know exactly what was it. Maybe it's just a personal ambition. Let's put it like that. But end of the day, like, I had family here, I had commitments. I was meant to be back on Wednesday, and I did. But probably because I didn't want to leave the way I did. Okay.
Yes.
I would say, if maybe that's just a personal preference. Okay. If, let's say, an Air Force Portuguese aircraft would be able to take us out directly from Ben Gurion would have felt different. But the fact that we were told that the evacuation will happen via Egypt, for me, it didn't sit that well. Okay, it didn't sit that well.
Right.
But we all know that there are issues at the border. We all know that Mount Sinai is not the safest place on earth, especially for individuals like ourselves. So
Yes.
I was hesitant about it. I wouldn't feel that uncomfortable if I would be given the option of getting on a ship from Ashdod or Haifa to Cyprus. But that was just when I left. That was just a rumor that at some point
Right.
there'll be ships
Right.
bringing people, and I
Yeah.
couldn't. I couldn't rely on things that were just on the air. I had,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I had to accept what was at hand, what was tangible, and what I could, what I could pursue.
Right.
So that's why I left. I left with a heavy heart. I met. I remember when I met Jorge's husband, and I was devastated. I told him like I was, my and my face was covered with tears, like literally. I couldn't handle the idea of leaving the country in that manner. But I had to be balanced. I knew that I'm not a resident, and as much as Israel is part of my life, I had to prioritize other aspects, and that's why I decided to accept the evacuation schedule.
And how did the actual evacuation go through Egypt and onto Cyprus? Was it a smooth evacuation?
Well, it wasn't too bad, I have to say. So in the morning, I took a taxi from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, and it was around 5. So I don't know for what reason. Actually, no one knows. I'd say that night it was relatively quiet. If you remember, Marco, there was not much in terms of sirens and all that. So when I was on the taxi to Tel Aviv, there were no rockets or missiles on the air, none of that. So, although I think we spotted already in Tel Aviv a building that was hit by a missile. So that's all I saw. Then when I got on the meeting point, in Tel Aviv, I was there pretty early, but I was not the first, and I had a chat with a few others. And I was not the only one concerned with crossing the border and with the second bus journey, because we all there was some diplomatic protection. The Egyptian police will be with us, but we have to take an Egyptian bus, so never know what can happen. Now, I thought, and I was wrong, and it is what it is. I thought that would be some semi-secret evacuation. I thought I don't know, 3, 5, 7 embassies were organizing, but that was not the case. When we approached the border in Egypt, there were plenty of buses, plenty. So that concern I had of we may be a target, we are in danger. It wasn't as much. It wasn't as bad, because I started to think that statistically, why would that happen to us? Like, you need to be rational. Why we need to be rational. Those things. If there are so many of us trying to evacuate Westerns, and I know there will be Israelis and Jews in all those buses. If something goes wrong, why would happen on our vehicle? So that's the thing you need to do. Like, you need to be realistic about what's going on, and and understand that it's not only about your bus. There are plenty of others, and then, like, in terms of the evacuation itself, like, other than things that are happening in my head, I think it was there was some. I think people were positive. Again, similar to the hotel environment. We were supportive. we were chatting to each other. We were sharing stories. Uh,
Mm.
we you know we wanted to know why you were here. Where do you go? And I think that helps. That helped a lot. The embassy was very helpful. The ambassador, the Portuguese ambassador, showed up
Hmm.
herself in Tel Aviv to say, "I'm the ambassador. I'm here to wish you a good trip, up to answer your questions before you get on the bus." Then an embassy staff traveled with us, and she was like the evacuation leader. And I think she was 5 stars. I told her that on social media. I told her that on WhatsApp, and I'm happy to repeat myself because I think she did a brilliant job in a very difficult situation. So it wasn't easy, but I think we made it bearable.
You made the most of it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
was it a relief to arrive in Cyprus and sleep on a military base?
that was weird, Marco. That was weird because when we got to the military base, okay,
Mm.
before we were shown the the tent, the tent with, I don't know how many beds were in the tent, 20, 30. We were
Mm.
told, okay, before you made your way to sleep, you can tent here on the left. There is another tent where you can get sandwiches and water. Okay,
Mm. Yes. Right.
and I felt. I mean, I was eating, but I was like,
Hmm.
I was trying not to be emotional, not too much. But and there were many Jews and Israelis, and and I felt like, this is happening again.
Mm.
Happening again. Like, here, eating sandwiches and water, expelled,
Mm.
some sort of expulsion,
Sort of a
or being
deja
kicked
vu.
out.
Yeah. A sort of a
Yes,
deja vu experience. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
Mm.
I felt it that way. I felt it like this doesn't sit well. That
Mm.
because I looked around and I gazed at others' faces, and I felt like,
Mm.
why again? Why
Mm.
again? Like,
Right.
I sitting on the tents and maybe tell, okay, we are being looked after, but we were
Mm.
like refugees,
Yes.
kind of thing. And that didn't sit well.
Mm.
That didn't sit well. But eventually, we were told to go to sleep. And look, I slept like I haven't slept when I was in Israel. I could
Mm.
sleep like 5 consecutive hours.
Right.
I'm very
Right.
thankful for the Cypriot um, um, authorities. They were
Mm.
keen to make sure that we were okay. We were looked after. So I think I have nothing to complain. So there was some relief about not being on Iran's radar, but at the
Mm.
same time,
Well, actually, you mentioned about not being on Iran's radar. Apparently, an Iranian spy slash terrorist was arrested in Cyprus
no
in
way.
these past. Yes, yes. But anyway, not to worry.
Yeah.
Um,
Can we?
let's. Say,
Can,
so here's
can I
we
just
have a
answer this
question here.
question here about
Yeah,
Egypt,
yeah,
just before we
yeah,
move on?
yeah, yeah.
So this viewer here is asking, how did the Egyptian border guards react, and how was the trip through Egypt towards the plane? Any encounter with locals? Well, the Egyptian border guards, I think they're just the way they are. I mean, they were loud, they were noisy, but that's how they act. They were shouting on people, but I don't think it
Mm,
was nothing related to us.
mm,
At some point, like myself and others, we noticed that two Egyptians, they were fighting, and we were thinking they're going to kill each other, and that will be another two
mm,
hours stuck here. So it was
mm,
there was tension
mhm,
in the border, but I wouldn't say it was about us. I think it's just the way things things operate in that part of the planet. The trip to Egypt towards the plane, it was in Mount Sinai, and for those who don't know, Mount Sinai is not exactly a place where you go, or if you want to make sure that you are safe, because even
mhm,
Egypt is fighting Al Qaeda, Taliban's. It's full of nasty people, very nasty
mm,
people, even for the
mm.
Egyptians. Okay,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I was, if people look at Mount Sinai, I was at the safest part of it because I was on the route from Israel towards Sharm el Sheikh, and there are a lot of
Mm,
buses for people to do, with the Russians and people who are very much into that those resorts. So the landscape is fantastic. It was beautiful, I have to say. I think Mount Sinai is a place that it's actually not that well used. I think it has a lot of opportunity from a touristic and religious point of view. If things will be ruled differently, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I felt okay. There was checkpoints. There was police checkpoint every 20, 30 minutes. It was during the night. Encounters with locals. No, we just stopped on a petrol station. We grabbed some food. There was nothing outrageous about that petrol station. The only thing is the products were not tagged, but fine,
Right.
And people were smoking, so it's like back in the 80s. But we were never mistreated or anything like that.